can start. Inshallah. We started reading in the morning, so we will continue, inshallah, this discussion. I read the last second paragraph, inshallah. I read and we can discuss it after reading. Thus, man is such an antique work of art. O Almighty God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is a most subtle and graceful miracle of His power, who He created to manifest all His names and their inscriptions in the form of a miniature specimen of the universe. If the light of belief enters his being, all the meaningful inscriptions on him may be read as one who believes. He reads them consciously, and through that relation causes others to read them. That's to say, the dominical art in man becomes apparent through meanings, like I am the creature and artifact of all glorious Maker. I manifest His mercy and munificence. That is, belief, which consists of being connected to the Maker, makes apparent all the works of art in man. Man's value is in accordance with that dominical art. The dominical art is San'at al-Rabbaniyah, and by virtue of being a mirror to the eternally sought one. In this respect, insignificant man becomes Allah's adversary and a guest of the sustainer worthy of the paradise, superior to all other creatures. So, Ismail, he asked in the morning the question, how can we will read those arts in man, also we will make others read. We were discussing in the last minutes of our discussion. So being a mirror to Allah Almighty. So at the same time also, showing them in our lives. So we will read first, then make others also read in our creation. So we will show all those beautiful manifestations in our lives. We will show the mercy, we will show the wisdom. We can increase the number of the names of Allah, and we will be a good mirror. Try to be a good mirror. So what is the difference? His question was, what is the difference between a believer and non-believer in terms of showing? They also their creation also showing the beauties of Allah. What I understand is they are not, I think, owning those beauties. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us those beauties. With Iman, we are owning those beauties. With Iman and with the gratefulness to the bounties of Allah, we are possessing those bounties and we will be rewarded accordingly. But the non-believers, so by denying those bounties are coming from Him, so directly cutting the relation between the bounties and Allah, so not possessing those bounties, just coming those beauties, those perfections, and going temporarily, maybe becoming a passage, that person becoming a passage to those bounties. You can just express your understandings.
I think this is the aim, as far as I understand. The believer displays the manifestation, the manifestation of the names of Allah should display. But the believer is also not angel. Sometimes he can make mistakes, and he cannot display the names of the manifestation of the names of Allah. But the reality is this: if a person obeys the orders of Allah, he can read, he can see the names of Allah, and he causes others to read them. This is reality. But the believer can protect his belief in his life, or he can lose his belief. Everybody is at the fault. And this believer can obtain the belief or cannot. If a disbeliever has some good qualities, Allah can give to him the belief, for example. In that period of time, if he has some good qualities to respect, for example, to his father, mother, or other creatures, Allah can give him belief because of these good qualities. That's why this is the reality. How strong believer has, we don't know. But according to his degree, the degree of belief, he can display the manifestations of the names of Allah. If he makes mistakes, he cannot display or he cannot see himself, and he cannot cause others to read them.
So here it said here, man's value, the human being's value, is in accordance with that dominical art, by virtue of being a mirror to eternal softness. So, being aware of those perfections, bounties, we are gaining the value. If a person denies those bounties, those perfections, the beauties of Allah, so it will be treated accordingly. So, of course, not every Muslim shows the beauties in one's creation. So they will be also treated accordingly. So we are responsible for the bounties we are given. So the non-believer or non-Muslim person also will be also rewarded or punished accordingly. We don't know behind the veil whatever Allah has given to them. So they will not be responsible for the bounty they are not given. Yeah.
What's the Arabic for eternally dissolved one? What's it?
Eternally dissolved for summit.
Summit?
I need some.
Oh, okay.
I need summit. Yes. We can continue. Hussein, do you have anything? No? If there is no question, we can continue reading. However, should unbelief, which consists of the severance of the relation, cutting the relation with Allah Almighty, enter man's being, if the unbelief enters man's being, then all those meaningful inscriptions of the divine names are plunged into darkness and become illegible, cannot be read. For if the Maker is forgotten, the spiritual aspect which look to him will not be comprehended. They will be as though reversed. The majority of those meaningful sublime arts and elevated inscriptions will be hidden. The remainder, the rest of those bounties that are given to the non-believer, those that may be seen with the eye will be attributed to lowly causes, nature and chance, and will become utterly devoid of value. While they are all brilliant diamonds, they become dull pieces of glass. His importance looks only to his animal physical being. And as we said, the aim and fruit of his physical being is only to pass a brief and partial life as the most impotent, needy, and grieving of animals. Then it decays and departs. See how unbelief destroys human nature and transforms it from diamonds into coal. So they are given those abilities, being a good mirror to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if a person not evaluating those opportunities, transform into coal, from diamond into coal. So it is
The same element, carbon,
Yeah.
but the different.
Yeah.
Opposite.
so a human being, created as human being, but not showing those abilities, being a perfect mirror of Allah. As the very beginning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we have created man in the most excellent of patterns. So, fi ahsan taqweem, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us, but we didn't heed the guidance from Qur'an. So, it transformed man's creation. While being a brilliant diamond.
The same element, carbon.
Yeah.
But the one will take the another,
Um,
the person, believe on
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. What else?
So every human being is given opportunities. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us those opportunities in the life. Maybe like sending the messages. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continuously, for example, giving bounties. Those bounties are coming as if coming from nothing. We were not in this world, so we are sent to this world. And continuously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes our lives continue. We are given sustenance, both spiritual and material bounties, and not thinking upon those bounties, having a life without gratitude. So the result is, of course, it will be
another
According-
people law, this God's everything duality.
Yeah.
Duality. Okay? Light and poor and dark. Darkness. Like this.
yeah, we are put in a test to show whether we will
If you have
run to
good
the
deeds,
darkness or
if you
light.
have good deeds, you are dying.
Yeah.
Bad things, maybe
Fall.
all.
Yeah.
I understand like this.
Ahmed, do you have any
No.
point, brother, to share? Whatever. It's clear. We can continue to the second point. Would you like to read?
Yeah.
Yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Second point. Just as belief is a light which illuminates man and makes legible all the mysteries of the eternally besought one inscribed upon him. Just as belief is a light which illuminates man and makes legible all the mysteries of the eternally besought one inscribed upon him, so too it illuminates the universe and delivers the past and the future from darkness. I shall explain this mystery with a comparison I saw during a vision, which concerns one meaning of the verse. Allah is the protector of those who believe. He leads them out of darkness into light. It was like this. I saw in a vision an awesome bridge built between two high mountains, situated opposite one another. I saw in a vision an awesome bridge built between two high mountains, situated opposite one another. Beneath the bridge was a valley of great depth. I was on the bridge. A dense darkness had enveloped every part of the world. I looked to my right and saw a vast grave situated in an unending dense gloom. That is, I imagined it. I looked to my left, and as though saw violent storms and calamities gathering amid terrifying waves of blackness. I looked beneath the bridge and imagined I saw a profound abyss. I had a dim torch in the face of this terrifying darkness. I had a dim torch in the face of this terrifying darkness. I used it and could see a little with its light. A most horrific situation appeared to me. In fact, such awful dragons, lions, and monsters appeared around me and on the bridge in front of me that I exclaimed, "Oh, this torch brings me only trouble." And I angrily cast it to the ground and broke it. Then, on smashing it, the darkness suddenly dispersed, as though I had turned on the switch for a huge electric lamp that lit up the whole world. Everywhere was filled with the lamp's light. It showed everything as it was in reality. I saw that the bridge I had seen was a highway through a plain passing over even ground. The vast grave I had seen on my right, I realized, consisted from top to bottom of beautiful verdant gardens and gatherings for worship, service, conversation, and the remembrance of Allah under the direction of luminous man. The precipices and peaks on my left, which I had imagined to be tempestuous and stormy, I now saw fleetingly to be a vast, lovely, and elevated place of feasting, recreation, and enjoyment, behind mountains that were adorned and pleasant. And the creatures I had thought to be terrifying monsters and dragons, I saw were familiar domestic animals, like camels or oxen, sheep, and goats. Declaring all praise be to Allah, for the light of belief, I recited the verse, Allah is the protector of those who believe. He leads them out of darkness into light. And I awoke from my vision. Thus, the two mountains were the beginning and end of life, that is, this world and the intermediate realm. The bridge was the road of life. To the right was the past, and to the left, the future. As for the small porch, it was the human ego, which is egotistical, relies on what it knows, and does not heed the heavenly revelation. The things imagined to be the monsters were the events and strange creatures of the world. Thus, one who relies on his ego, who falls into darkness of heedlessness, and is afflicted with the blackness of misguidance, resembles my first state in division, which, like with the pocket torch and due to deficient and misguided knowledge, saw the past in the form a huge grave amid darkness imbued with non-existence. It showed the future to be a stormy and desolate wasteland governed by coincidence and events and beings, which are all submissive officials of one all-wise and all-compassionate to be monsters. Such a person as though manifests the verse, and those who reject belief, their protectors are the evil ones. They lead them out of light into darkness. But if such a man attains to divine guidance and belief enters his heart, and if the tyranny of his soul is smashed and he heeds Allah's book, he will resemble my second state in division. Then the universe will suddenly take on the color of day and be filled with divine light. The world will recite the verse, Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. Then he will see with the eye of the heart that the past is not a vast grave, but where the groups of purified spirits, who each century having performed their duties of worship under the leadership of a prophet or saint, exclaim, Allah is most great, Allah Akbar, on completion of the duties of their lives, and fly to elevated about moving on to the past. He will look to the left and through the light of belief distinguish in the distance a feasting place of the most merciful setup in palaces of bliss in the gardens of paradise. Beyond the mountains, revolutions of the intermediate realm and the hereafter. And he will realize that the storms and earthquakes and tempestuous events are all submissive officers and understand that they are the means for instances of wisdom, which, though apparently harsh, are, in fact, most gentle, like the storms and rains of spring. He will even see death to be the introduction to eternal life, and the grave, the door to everlasting happiness. You can deduce further aspects for yourself, apply the reality to the comparison.
So,
I'd like to ask a question.
Yeah.
He had a dim torch in the face of this terrifying darkness. He used it and could see a little with its light. A most horrific situation appeared to him. Why? Why didn't the torch help him even a little? Even a little. In fact, for example, as we are walking, suddenly, if we are in the dark, if we have mobile phone, we use its light, it can help us a little. But in this situation, no help, but darker.
so
The problem
the dim
becomes bigger.
the light of it is dim, not so not showing the reality of everything.
Mm.
So the problem is that.
Mm.
So showing everything in the just opposite.
Mm.
So it increases the tribulation. It increases the terror. So terrifying condition increase because of the its light is deficient. So the reality is that the reality of this torch is one who relies on his ego, who falls into darkness of heedlessness and is afflicted with the blackness of misguidance, resembles my first state in the vision. So which, like with the pocket torch, due to deficient and misguided knowledge.
Deficient.
So the knowledge of without heeding the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the prophets He has sent with the revelation. So just depending on one's knowledge, the deficient knowledge, because as God has created us in this world, and He has taught us whatever we need. If a person doesn't heed the revelation the prophets brought, so it will be whatever knowledge, it will be deficient in terms of the knowledge Allah has taught. So it is not helping, but increasing the, the problem, the condition is worsened rather than being good. It becomes more terrifying.
So to answer your question, I mean, the reason is because the torch is dim. It's not at full force torch. Is that why it makes it worse? Should we understand that way?
Yes. I think knowledge becomes illusion, problem, if a person doesn't obtain the belief. The more knowledge he obtains, the more problem he faces.
So maybe we can give examples to this. There may be many examples. For example, without heeding the iman as Allah has taught us, the guidance. For example, one is learning the knowledge, the sciences. Those sciences becomes, for example, those sciences increases that person's fears. the more he learns, the more, for example, the nature, because those sciences just mentioning about the nature of everything. But those natures are not depending on Allah's creation. Allah has created those natures, but they are looking just from the point of science, without looking at the creator. So, as taking the creator out of the topic, so how did it happen? By chance. They are ascribing all the bounties of Allah, ascribing the creation of Allah to the chances, to the to its own existence. So whatever he learns, for example, a person learns, so it becomes like a problem, like a maybe torture for that person. Life becomes a torture. The knowledge becomes like an illness. So that person, the more he learns, the more she learns. So becomes, life is more terrifying. Becomes it becomes like an illness for that person.
I think the more, somebody acquires knowledge, just material knowledge without the knowledge of God, of Allah, he understands that the universe is very complex, so many things going on, right? There are so many rules, regulations, etc. But if he doesn't believe in Allah, and if he ascribes everything to chance, then there is a big possibility that something can go wrong. So he becomes more afraid and afraid. The more he learns, the more he understands, he sees the complexity of everything, and because he doesn't have the nur of Iman, he becomes more terrified.
So the assurance.
So I think that's the dimness of the torch. I mean, it shows something, but it doesn't show the whole picture.
For example, if a person sees rope, a snake, in fact, it is not snake, the rope, but if he sees the rope, the snake, he says it is better not to see. Not to see.
So not seeing the source of everything. So consider that everything is happening by chance, by itself. So it becomes that knowledge becomes a
Burden.
Burden for the person. So this is the second. It was the second part. My second point is explaining the universe. Also, not only man, as the first explained. In the second, the universe is also enlightened with the knowledge of Allah, with the belief in Allah. It is illuminated. Otherwise, the universe becomes just a dark place. It becomes so terrifying for the person observing it. So the third point. Anybody illustrate?
Third point. Belief is both light and strength. Yes, one who acquires true belief may challenge the whole universe and be saved from the pressure of events in accordance with the strength of his belief. Saying, I place my trust in Allah, he travels through the mountainous waves of events in the ship of life in complete safety. He entrusts all his burdens to the hand of power of the absolutely powerful one, voyages through the world in ease, then takes his rest in the intermediate realm. Later, he may fly up to paradise in order to enter eternal happiness. Otherwise, if he does not rely on Allah, rather than flying, the burdens of the world will drag him down to the lowest of the low. That is to say, belief necessitates affirmation of divine unity. Affirmation of divine unity necessitates submission to Allah. Submission to Allah necessitates reliance on Allah. and reliance on Allah necessarily leads to happiness in this world and the next. But do not misunderstand this. Reliance on Allah is not to reject causes altogether. It is rather to know that causes are available to the hand of power and have recourse to them. Knowing that attempting causes is a sort of active prayer, it is to seek the effects only from Almighty Allah, recognize that the results are from Him alone, and to be thankful to Him. Those who place their trust in Allah and those who do not resemble the two men in this story. One time, two men loaded heavy burdens onto both their backs and heads, and buying tickets boarded a large ship. As soon as they boarded it, one of them left his load on the deck and sitting on it guarded it. The other, however, since he was both stupid and arrogant, didn't put down his load. When he was told, "Leave that heavy load on the deck and be comfortable," he replied, "No, I won't put it down, it might get lost. I am strong, I'll guard my property by carrying it on head and back." Again, this reliable royal ship which is carrying you and us is stronger. It can protect it better than you. You may get giddy and fall into the sea together with your load. Anyway, you will gradually lose your strength, and by degrees those loads will get heavier, and your bent back and brainless head will not have the power to bear them. And if the captain sees you in this state, he will either say that you are guilty and expel you from the ship, or he will think you are ungrateful, accusing our ship and jeering at us, and he will order you to be put into prison. Also, you are making a fool of yourself in front of everyone, for the perceptive see that you are displaying weakness through your conceit, impotence through your pride, and abasement and hypocrisy through your pretense, and have thus made yourself a laughingstock in the eyes of the people. Everyone's laughing at you. Whereupon the unfortunate man came to his senses. He put down his load on the deck and sat on it. He said to the other, "Oh, may Allah be pleased with you. I have been saved from that difficulty, from prison, and from making a fool of myself." O man who does not place his trust in Allah, you too come to your senses like that man and place your trust in Him, so that you may be delivered from begging before all the universe, trembling before every event, from pride making a fool of yourself, misery in the hereafter, and the prison of the pressures of this world.
So, the third point starts with that, it's a proverb. Belief is both light and strength. One who acquires true belief may challenge the whole universe, be saved from the pressures of events, in accordance with the strength of his belief. So importance of reliance in Allah. Tawakkul here in this third point explained. So the comparison is so nice, explaining. Maybe we can discuss the comparison and of course the reality of it. So the person who enters in the ship, not putting his burden, his load on the ship, very broad and very strong when compared to that person's back. So that person who doesn't put his load on the ship, so it becomes a very stupid condition. That person who is wise, warning him to put his load so that we saved from that very comic condition, not trusting to the sheep and trusting oneself. It is very interesting. I would like to ask that point, how they understand. It says, for example, that person who who is wise, for the perceptive, see that you are displaying weakness through your conceit. What do you understand from these sentences? The perceptive, in the original text says, أهل دقات. The perceptive see that you are displaying weakness through your conceit, pride, impotence through your pride, and abasement and hypocrisy through your pretense, pretending to be strong. And have thus made yourself a laughing stock in the eyes of the people. The first sentence, the first part of the sentence, the perceptive see that you are displaying weakness through your conceit. What do you understand from this person, for example, a proud person by conceitedness? What does it mean, displaying weakness? So those people who are very having so pride in themselves, they are showing weakness. What do you understand from this? So those who are not relying on Allah becomes in this condition. They are depending on themselves. They are very proud of their strength or their wealth, and they are not depending on Allah's richness, not depending on Allah's power. So they, in fact, they are showing their weakness. What does it mean? What do you understand from this meaning?
So, as an example that is given on this part,
Yeah.
So the guy, when he tried to show his strength,
Yeah.
he said he was powerful, he can carry whatever he has on his shoulder. But in fact, he was already in a ship, right?
Yeah.
So he thought he was strong, but he was actually not. So he had to put whatever he was carrying, on the floor and just sit on it. Or in a daily life, for example, from myself, or we take, we face with so many different problems, or we have so many challenges, right? Sometimes we take it personal, or we are burdened with those by thinking what caused this, or why did I have such situation. Instead, if we look at the whole picture and then say, okay, there is a bigger picture and there's an Allah, so I had, this thing happened to me, but there must be a reason for it. So.
So relying on Allah, so it means that you are accepting His rules, but acting accordingly with wisdom by carrying out the duties we are given. So we accepting that we are weak, but if we depend on Allah's power, we get an endless source of power. So rather than depending on our power and strength, depending on an endless power. So in the life, those who are depending on themselves, their transient power and wealth, and the result is just an endless. It becomes an endless, I think, loss. Becomes an endless disappointment.
Also, this third point is very connected with the second one.
Yeah.
So in the previous point, someone gave an example of scientists, right?
Yeah.
As scientists, when they look at the causes and when they learn more and more about it, they get excited, and then they think that they rely on their ego.
Yeah.
They know something, and then they took too much on themselves. But at the end, if they don't see the creator, they are being terrified, right? So it is the same example as the person which was on the third point, that the person who didn't put his stuff on the bag. So it is very similar.
Yeah, yes. So a person who relies on his own knowledge and power sees that those causes they are depending, they are not showing mercy to them. They are not showing any pity on their condition because they are also officials. They are acting according to the rules of the Creator. So not finding the real ruler, not finding the source of those bounties, just the result is disappointment and I think torture. We have
Statements. And I'd like to add some sentences. A man doesn't have any power, but he imagines that he has power. But the people who know its reality, who know that that person doesn't have the power, they laugh. In fact, because they have no power. But he thinks he has power. But by thinking, man cannot have a power. Reality is strict. Man, king, or the poorest man are equal, that they are no power as a man, as a creature. But if a person thinks that he has power, he deceives or is deceived.
Yeah.
Yes.
deceiving his own. Time.
And I'd like to ask you about so that you may be delivered from begging before all the universe in this world, trembling before every event in this world, from pride, still in this world, making a fool of yourself as well, misery in the hereafter, it is in the hereafter, and the prison of the precious of this world in this world. Why? Most results are about this world. If a person doesn't rely on Allah, if a person relies on his own, even in this world, he lives like a hell. This world becomes like hell. In the Risale-i, these explanations he gives a lot of places. What is the reason? Why is it important for man to see these results?
So the point of view changes everything. So that person, for example, doesn't see the source of, for example, power. The source of power is, for example, in the comparison is the powerful one is the ship and the owner of the ship. So who is regulating all the events? As not depending on him, so he is losing all his power, all his strength. So seeing the reality coming from all the source of power from Allah changes our lives, but not seeing that. So looking at the world from a black, for example, window. The whole world is black. So all perceptions, all perspectives change our life. So a person, for example, it is given example. A person who is crying sees the whole world as crying. So this impression changes his life. A person who is happy, so sees the whole world full of gratitude, full of happiness. So the source of, I think, the reason of this is, I think, the ending in our perceptions, in our looking at the world from the angle of the iman, belief. Just opposite, if a person doesn't look at in this way, sees everything black, sees everything terrifying. So, as we are, for example, reading two meanings, the manayı harfi and manayı ismi, looking at the world from the perspective of Allah, changes our lives. Everything is from Him, and everything is acting according to His rule. If we do not look at from this perspective, we will see everything as if acting by itself. So that's driving them to the causes, changing whole life.
Can we give some practical examples for these things in the last one, like begging before all the universe?
Yeah.
Like what's like a practical example we can give? I mean, the reason I'm asking, because a lot of people on this world, they are non-believers, but they claim to be happy, and they look to be happy.
Seem to be.
They seem to be exactly. So how can we challenge them? Like, let's say we are discussing with them. So you are begging before the universe. Like, what kind of examples, like practical examples, we can give to?
First word?
Yeah, please.
Yes. Bismillah. Someone who makes a journey through the deserts of Arabia has to travel in the name of the tribal chief and enter under his protection. For in this way he may be saved from the assaults of bandits and secure his needs. On his own, he will perish in the face of innumerable enemies and needs. And so two men went on such a journey and entered the desert. One of them was modest and humble, the other proud and conceited. The humble man assumed the name of the tribal chief, while the proud man did not. The first traveled safely wherever he went. If he encountered bandits, he said, I am traveling in the name of such and such tribal leader. And they did not molest him. If he came to some fence, he was treated respectfully due to the name. But the proud man suffered indescribable calamities throughout his journey. He both trembled before everything and begged from everything. He was abased and became an object of scorn. He begged from everything. What does it mean? If a person doesn't want from Allah, he wants from soil, for example, from man. In fact, all men are impotent. If a person doesn't want from Allah, for example, if he is ill, he wants remedy from the medicine. Doctor is impotent, medicine are impotent, no power, no knowledge. But he wants from them. In fact, although he doesn't know, but if a person doesn't want from Allah, he must want from something, because his needs are limitless and he has no power. This is a kind of begging. Although he doesn't say he doesn't beg, but in reality, he's begging from everything which are impotent like him. Soil, medicine, man, some farmer, for example, farmer. if he doesn't want from Allah, he wants from causes which are important.
Yeah.
Bismillah, وَمَا دُعَاءُ الْكَافِرِينَ إِلَّا فِي ضَلَالٍ. They are making supplication, but إِلَّا ضَلَالٍ.
Here also there is an interesting example. In the third verse, Sayyid is giving an example of a comet, which is about to hit the earth. I think Halley comet is
Yes.
said. So that comet is passing very near to the earth. So people are afraid to hit the earth, considering it acts by itself. It is, isn't that comet going to hit the earth? Or on one occasion, America was quaking with the fear that such a comet, and many people left their homes in the middle of the night. So, by not knowing that that comet is under the command of one all-powerful, who has created the universe, also created that comet and put in an orbit. If it hits the earth, so it acting with the command of the creator who created the universe. So, but not knowing the creator, so fearing from everything. The comet coming, passing from thousands of miles away from the earth, so they feel the terror, they feel the fear of serious condition. So
Or maybe
these are-
one contemporary example we can give is global warming.
Yeah.
Like a lot of scientists and people are alarmed by global warming. They are saying like, okay, the end of the world is coming. Or I mean, they are very terrified about it.
Here, in the very beginning, it said, at the third point, it said here, reliance on Allah doesn't mean that doing nothing,
Yeah.
just relying on Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wants us to act according to His causes. He has put causes in our lives, so He wants us to make dua of active prayer. So it is also prayer, but it is active. We are doing it. So the comet, for example, coming closer to the earth, we can surf on it. We can do whatever Allah has given us as knowledge. We can apply those knowledges. So it doesn't rely on Allah. Doesn't I think handicap us. It doesn't prevent us from searching. So that reliance on Allah requires us to act according to His laws Allah has created on earth. So for us, so like the planting the seed for the new vegetable, new fruits. So without planting, we cannot want from Allah. So it is opposite to the law of Allah. So Allah wants us to act accordingly to His laws, and the result is not from soil. The result is not from air, not from the water, and not from the sun. It's coming from directly from Allah's power and His mercy. Yeah. We can read the first, I think. Muhammad, you read?
I don't know.
And the
Sure.
yeah, please. You can read the fourth.
Fourth point. Belief makes man into man. Indeed, it makes man into a king. Since this is so, man's basic duty is belief and supplication. Unbelief makes man into an extremely impotent beast. Out of thousands of proofs of this matter, the differences in the ways animals and man come into the world are a clear indication and decisive proof. Yes, these differences show that humanity becomes humanity through belief. For when animals come into the world, They come complete in all points in accordance with their abilities as though having been perfected in another world. That is, they are sent. They learn all the conditions of their lives, their relationships with the universe, and the laws of life in either 2 hours or 2 days or 2 months, and become proficient in them. Animals like sparrows and bees acquire in 20 days the power to survive and proficiency in their actions that man only acquires in 20 years. That is, they are inspired with them. This means that the animal's fundamental duty is not to be perfected through learning and progress by acquiring knowledge, nor to seek help and offer supplications through displaying their impotence, but in accordance with their abilities to work and act. Their duty is active worship. As for man, he needs to learn everything when he comes into the world. He is ignorant. He cannot even learn completely the conditions of life in 20 years. Indeed, he needs to go on learning until the end of his life. Also, he is sent to the world in most weak and impotent form, and can only rise to his feet in 1 or 2 years. Only in 15 years can he distinguish between harm and benefit, and with the help of mankind's experience, attract things advantageous to him and avoid others than that are harmful. This means that man's innate duty is to be perfected through learning and to proclaim his worship of Allah and servitude to him through supplication. That is to say, it is to know the answer of the questions. True, whose compassion is my life, so wisely administered in this way. Through those gener- through whose generosity am I so kindly raised? Through whose graciousness am I so delicately nurtured and ministered to? It is to beseech and supplicate the provider of needs through the tongue of impotence and poverty. It is to seek from him. It is to fly to the high station of worship and servitude to God on the wings of impotence and poverty. This means that man came to this world to be perfected by means of knowledge and supplication. In regards to his nature and abilities, everything is tied to knowledge. And the foundation, source, light, and spirit of all true knowledge is Allah, and its essence and basis is belief in Allah. Furthermore, since man is subject to endless tribulations and afflicted with innumerable enemies despite his boundless impotence, and suffers from endless needs and has innumerable desires despite his boundless poverty. After belief, his fundamental innate duty is supplication. As for supplication, it is the basis of worship of Allah and servitude to Him. In order to secure and desire or wish, he cannot obtain. A child will either cry or ask for it. That is, he will supplicate through the tongue of his impotence, either actively or verbally, and he will be successful in securing it. In the same way, man is like a delicate, petted child in the world of living creatures. He has to either weep at the court of the most merciful and compassionate one through his weakness and impotence, or supplicate through his poverty and needs, so that the things he wants may be made subject to him, or he may offer thanks for their being made so. Otherwise, like a silly child who creates a fuss over a fly, saying, with my own strength I subjugate things it is not possible to subjugate, and things 1,000 times more powerful, and I make them obey me through my own ideas and measures. He displays ingratitude for the bounties, and just as this is contrary to man's innate nature, so he makes himself deserving of severe punishment.
So the fourth point, so we have the comparison between man and animal. So these are in fact, yeah, we have read it. It's a long topic. So the main point is here, I think, the knowledge Allah SWT gave us. So the knowledge we are getting from Allah SWT. At first we are ignorant and we are getting that knowledge from Allah SWT. And for animals, that's not the condition. They are sent to this world perfectly. They are given whatever they need as if in the world. So they are acting upon those abilities. So their worshiping is active. So but they are acting whatever they are taught. So, but human beings, at first, we are ignorant. Maybe it takes 20 years to get the knowledge of the life. So we are sent to the world to understand our ignorance, to understand our weakness, that we gain those knowledges by striving. So gaining, for example, the reliance on Allah by understanding our weakness. Any point you want to ask, Ahmed or Ali? If you have any question, can.
I probably need to read this to really understand.
Yes, so the difference between the human beings and animals. So here, the very beginning sentence, just as belief is a light which illuminates man, makes legible all the mysteries of eternal Satan, inscribed upon him, so it illuminates. The fourth point. So belief makes man into a man. So we become a real human being. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says we have created man in the most excellent of patterns, but gaining those high ranks depending on our striving. So with belief we are acquiring those higher positions. So man's basic duty is belief and supplication. So supplication here, both supplicating actively and verbally. So if a person doesn't heed the laws of Allah, so unbelief makes man into an extremely impotent beast. So by refraining from the guidance of Allah, the result is maybe lower than the animals. Allah says, that's very sadly for those who are not heeding Allah, His law, His words, His guidance. So becomes lower than the animals because they are acting. The animals also they are acting perfectly according to the law of Allah. If there is no other question, we can end the discussion here. Inshallah. Fuqara, do you have any question? You don't have? سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم.